Why are people so frustrated?
Bro, we haven't even done the intro yet. We were just like livid already, man.
No, see, this is why I'm here. I will provide the therapy that people need for today. Why you take this whole thing with a grain of salt and keep it moving.
You got the salt shaker?
The salt shaker's right here. It's like, come on, man. This is what do you want? What do you want? What do people want this to be? This is February or March level basketball that we're gonna watch, and it's
oh my goodness,
and it's October. He just said this is just an extended practice. Don't try to take anything from this. Do people read stuff?
They don't.
I don't think so.
They don't.
If you're gonna be torches and pitchforks, you have to read everything and understand what the mentality going into the game is. And you look at the good things that people did, and you can look at some of the bad stuff, but you don't have to make this the end all be all and say Isaiah Stewart had 1 rebound, so he's a flop and he's a failure as a rebounder because he only had 1. It's like, dude, what do you understand what you're watching? Let's look at that. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's get started.
Yeah.
I'm here. If I had a white doctor's coat on, I would put the doctor's coat on and just tell people to chill because it's not.
Yeah, we need Aaron Rodgers right now. It's the only time I'll vouch or authorize something. Aaron Rodgers, RELAX. Relax.
It's just chill. It's not the end of the world because you lost a preseason game. Even if you go 4-0 in the preseason, it guarantees you. We learned that from. Let's get started.
Yep.
Let's get started. Let's just get started.
What up, though, people? What up, though, people? It's your boy Detroit Kool-Aid. I'm rocking out with Mr. Everything over here, Jeff Iafrate. And yo, listen, we need a really, 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 really good drum roll this morning because I know Rod's bringing the heat. Let's get it. Hey, yo, shout out to the legend and welcome Detroit News Rod Beard. Bro, I would ask how you doing, but I already know, man. Look, bros, it's that game last night. I came away with a lot of good notes. I was telling Jeff this before we went live and before you jumped on. I was like, I was like, okay, Sadiq, Cade, they're not 2 people I need to really clue in on. Isaiah Stewart, maybe a little, but I kind of know what I'm going to get from them. This was about the rookies. It was about Killian Hayes and his confidence and his aggression. This was about Jalen Duren. For me, can he pass the big man triage, of rebounding, picks and rolls, active defense. I was going through the list like, oh, man, Isaiah Livers looking exactly how we would hope. Bojan Bogdanovic came in and fit in nicely. I had a whole sheet of nice notes, bro, because I'm not really clued in on Cade and Sadiq to the tune of letting they've already proven themselves. We're not going to let one preseason game even dictate a little bit how we read into anything that they do. We got on that stream, man, and everybody in the chats, the majority, let me not throw everybody out there, the majority. And I mean, we had 150 at one point, 150, 160 people in there, bro. It got crazy. They were ripping it. Like, what were the things you were hearing, bro?
A lot of Dwayne Casey criticism, which I'm like, what? I'm like, so you're going to give players credit for looking good, but we're just going to completely erase the coach. Like, okay, so Jaden looks comfortable. Jalen Duren looks comfortable. Obviously, the rebounding looks great. Isaiah Livers looks good. But yeah, Dwayne Casey, he has nothing to do with this. He's bad. He's a bad coach. Get him out of here. I don't like him. I'm sitting there. I'm like, wait, guys, and this is what my theory is, Rod. I think people have been looking forward to Pistons basketball for so long that when they get that first little taste, they use it as the end all be all. And that's why I'm like, guys, you gotta wait. Like for me, and Kool-Aid just hit on it. This is how I looked at it, Rod, and I'm sure you would agree with us in a way. I walked into the game. I just needed to answer some questions. For me, it was certain players. How does Jaden Ivey look in his first preseason game? How does Jalen Duren look in his first preseason game? Obviously, the rookies. How does Isaiah Livers look? We haven't gotten to see him much last year. Now he gets to play with a preseason game, play a lot of minutes. Looking at Isaiah Livers, what does Killian Hayes look like? He looked good at the open practice. Let's see what his aggression looks like. What does, Isaiah Stewart look like stretching the floor? He had this newfound jump shot. You see him in the practicing post-practice, every single practice. Like those things I'm looking for, Rod. I'm not looking for, like the turnovers. Okay, we understand this is a very young team. We understand now you have two guys that are very young, learning how to play together. Like there's still that team chemistry that needs to be developed. But for me, Rod, I'm just looking at some small things. Like, am I wrong? Am I wrong or right for that?
Gentlemen, the season is over, as we know it. This season is,
Victor.
The season is over, and the Pistons are clearly tanking for Victor or Scoot because they lost a preseason game to the Knicks. You can draw every conclusion that you want to from a preseason, but not even a preseason game, the first preseason game, which will tell you everything you need to know about this team because it's the first preseason game.
Against not just any team.
Tom Tibbs.
It's Coach Thibodeau.
Yeah.
His teams play defense all the time. Even if they're not good, like, from a standpoint of skill, they still try really hard, like all the time.
Yeah,
all the time, preseason or regular season.
They'll start guarding you as soon as you walk in the arena. Like those guys want to play defense. So listen, come on.
I mean, it is. Let's overreact to the most minuscule of things. And I think you guys hit it on the head, is that if you come into this looking at very specific things that you want to see, I wanted to see how Killian looked. That was probably at the top of my list of things. I didn't care about Jalen Duren or Jaden Ivey. I knew Ivey would be fine. Ivey was probably number 2 because I wanted to see what type of start he had. Because I didn't want it to be a Cade type thing where he had a really slow start and it took him some time to find his groove. That dude looked like he was ready from the first minute from jump. He was fine. So first couple of baskets he made, I'm like, okay, that dude's good. Check, that's done. Killian looked like he was a little bit more comfortable and he went at the rim. 1 of 3 from 3. Okay, I'm good with that. But the one that he made looked really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
to
overreact from this, I'll take you behind the curtain too. The game notes came out and Mike was at shoot around yesterday.
Yeah.
And he said,
Mike Curtis.
He said, Rod, the game notes say Killian is a probable starter. And I said, wait, what? Is it Killian and Jaden or Killian and Cade? He said the notes say Killian and Cade. He said, bro, don't even tweet it. Don't tweet it. Don't say anything about it because people will go bananas in the middle of the afternoon for nothing, for no reason. And they did because Omari tweeted it a little bit later. And I'm like, watch how this rolls. People are going to get bent out of shape about it. And then when the starters came out, it was Jaden and Cade. So people are just you give people something to trip about and they're going to trip about it. But I told him specifically, do not tweet this because people will go bananas over nothing, over probable starters. And I tweeted it right before the game and people got anxiety like I thought they would. But then when the real starters came out, it was, oh, okay, we can be cool. You can be cool all the time. If you want to be off the rocker, that's a choice. You do that by choice. And anybody that's off their rocker about a preseason game,
the first preseason game on the road against the Knicks, cool. You can be that way.
And they're trying to break down like the starting lineup as well. Like, I mean, I'm sitting here. They're like, well, I don't think this lineup has enough size as opposed to lob. We need a lob threat inserted. I'm like, dude, we don't even know if this will be the starting lineup opening night. We know majority it will be, but overall, like you said, Rod, it's why not experiment during preseason? Like, why not try different lineups? Why not try different things? Like,
Jeff, because we're trying to win them all. We got to win them all.
Trying to win them all.
Listen, Dwayne,
you know what's funny?
Dwayne Casey's like Pokemon. He has to catch all these wins, all these dubs.
He's just sitting there like, oh my gosh. He's probably sitting somewhere in a dark room, shaking back and forth, like I lost this preseason game.
Preparing like it's the NBA Finals. People expect him to. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, man. And you know what's interesting is people were criticizing that first lineup when honestly, that's when they look kind of the best. They start a little slow, but that lineup, When Bojan started hitting those threes,
Oh yeah, Bojan just
they looked like, I was like, wow, they look like a really good team. Cade wasn't necessarily hitting his shots at that time, but you could see exactly how this team is going to look.
Yeah.
You could see like the way that they're going to play. I do want to get into the breakdown of it all because I know we started kind of right into it. It was hot. Like last night, we started into the post game thinking we're going to break bread over,
Kumbaya.
Yeah, over some of the good things we saw and talk about some of the things we hope to see more of, similar to what we did in Summer League.
Right.
And so when we got on this stream this morning, it was like, hey, we got to address this. But listen, your Detroit Pistons fell to the New York Knicks in Madison Square, 117-96. Turnovers were the issue. Those were the big issues. The Pistons finished with 22 turnovers. That gave the Knicks 20 points off turnovers. The other thing that was I don't know if it's alarming, but 62 points in the paint for the Knicks.
Yeah, and that's probably the only thing that I look at. Excuse me, that I look at that it could translate. Just because if you look at that starting lineup, I don't mind it. I just don't know who's gonna, because we talked about Isaiah Stewart last year, putting kind of the burden on him of being that paint defender and having to really be all we have. Like Bojan at the 4. He's not really going to, be bumping down there with guys. So for me, that's probably my one concern is I'm curious to see eventually if you do see a Duren Stewart front court, or you see, Duren or Nerlens Noel at center. But for me, yeah, that's probably the one thing I noticed is like, my God, they're getting everything they want at the rim. And it's not even like it's Isaiah Stewart's fault. He's playing it hard, but at 6'8", it's like, what can he do? I like the lineup with a lot of different situations like small ball, but overall, that might be something, that might signal just a small little issue in the future. I could see teams taking advantage of that.
Or also it's Mitchell Robinson and he's going to give a lot of people problems. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not like it's some bad dude. Mitchell Robinson is a beast on the inside. Maybe not offensively, but in terms of protecting the rim and shot blocking and rebounding.
Right.
Yeah. He's going to give you problems. And so if you want to point to the inside presence and having Stewart and Bojan, sure, but how much different is that than Stewart and Grant was last year? Was there that much of a difference? So if you thought you upgraded and you wanted to have this big inside presence, you can't have it both ways because you want Bojan to be able to shoot from 3. And you can't, he's just not going to go in and be a 10 rebound guy for you or start blocking shots out of the blue. That's just the trade-off that you have. So then you need to say, exactly as you said, Jeff, you've got to trade off and say, well, we're just going to go Duren and have him be not the offensive presence that we want, or you just do something completely different.
Right. And maybe that goes back to my what we were talking about last night is I see Stewart eventually. I just see him as a 4. Like, I don't know how to, I could see him playing 5, obviously in different lineups, but overall, if he can shoot the ball, especially because he's going to be on the perimeter a lot, I can see his role being that you could either start at the 4, play the back of 4, play the 5 at times. But I'm curious to see how that translates into the regular season. Because like last year, like you said, Rod, Jeremy Grant and Isaiah Stewart, in my opinion, are better than this front court currently, because you had Jeremy Grant, who's 6'9", versatile, that can actually block shots. This one, I'm curious to see the fit, but honestly, everybody on the floor can shoot. So it's a great fit for if you want Jaden and Cade to be in space with guys who can knock it down. Like it's a great lineup.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see the size,
It really depends on what Casey was saying, and I'm glad that and Troy Weaver, I'm glad they put an emphasis on internal growth. I'm glad they're putting that out there, telling these players get better. I'm glad that they're not leaving things to linger. Hey, here's your options. We're picking them up. You already understand what the deal is. Go to work. Get better, prove yourself. And one thing that I've noticed during Casey's time here, and it must be something as a part of his development style, he allows players in games for stretches of games to work on things. We noted this last year when people were complaining about Sadiq Bey in the beginning of last season. I noticed he's not playing the same game that he was playing his first year. It was a little bit different. He was doing more things like getting into the paint more so than just being more of a catch and shoot ready type of a player. He was a little bit more aggressively taking the ball to the rack. I saw him trying to mix it up a little bit more with rebounds and such. And with Beef Stew, when you look at his game, you see him trying to do specific things. different things in that game last night that honestly pulls him away from the perimeter. I mean, pulls him out of the paint into the perimeter. When he's guarding somebody one-on-one, I didn't see Stu outmatched. I didn't see him outmatched at all as it related to defending anybody one-on-one. But I just don't remember him, aside from a few plays, really, really getting busy, weak side or as a rebounder. But I do believe that's going to change. What I've noticed about him is with his ability to kind of be all over, when he names Al Horford as a player, Al Horford is another player whose rebounds some nights will be there and other nights won't.
Right. He's in an 8 to 9 range. You know, he's just he's on a walking double guy.
Yep. And so that's what I'm looking for. If Stu's going to be that, I like him at that 4 spot. I believe he can lock that down long term. And it's something, like I said last time on the stream, I want to see him do. There's still questions to answer, but I want to see Isaiah Stewart go out there, because it's good when hard workers get rewarded for that, man. It really is. And I want to see that pan out for our Pistons. I want to see our guys who Troy Weaver has identified. I want to see them pan out. You know, there has to be something there. And you see the tenaciousness, you see the grit, you see the hustle, you see how he backs up his teammates. And sometimes you need that in the starting lineup more than off the bench from a guy who commands that type of respect from the get-go.
Here's the caveat in that, though, is that if you see long range Stu being a 4, that's not this year. It's possibly next year. But you know what this is a setup for? Is the long term. If you're talking about Duren as your 5, then Stewart's your 4. But in the interim, you can have Livers play 4, Babe play 4. You've got Bogdanovich as your short-term patch. You've got options at 4. So you're not worried about 4. So to your point, we're going to experiment with some things, and we're going to be interchangeable and flexible with a lot of that stuff too. And we haven't even talked about Bagley being in that 4-5 mix either. So the options are there, but it really is, let's start putting Stu in a position to start doing some of these things. And I don't think Dwayne Casey stayed up all last night saying Stu only had 1 rebound. I don't think that's something that he cares about.
Yeah, no. And, you know, some of the things here to look, I guess, before we get into the things that we liked, I wanted to start with, you know, the turnovers. Wanted to talk about the points in the paint they gave up. Fast break points, neither here nor there. Their turnovers kind of led to some of those. Let me see. Obviously, Cade and Sadiq, you would like to see them shoot a little bit better. I liked what they were trying to do. So it's like, I don't know how much weight you really put into there, what much more you would want to see them do. I guess with Cade, be a little bit more strong, you know, with the basketball in no matter if it's preseason, if it's rec league, church league, Pee Wee league, you don't want to turn the ball over. You just don't, you know, but I get it. First game, and the Knicks are coming out playing like it's the first game of the regular season. Like, that's just how they came out there. If you're coming out there as an extended practice, I can see how those early turnovers can get going. With Sadiq Bey, like I said, it looked like he was really, really, really attempting to be aggressive. He led the team in free throws attempted in the first half of the game with 5. And that's what it looked like he was trying to do. I know both of them took 5 threes. Cade Cunningham hit 1. It was a pretty nice 3. Sadiq Bey was 1 of 8. Cade Cunningham was 3 of 12. They finished with 6 points, 7 points, respectively. 3 assists for Cade Cunningham, 2 rebounds. Let me see here. Sadiq Bey had 3 rebounds and 2 assists. So overall, it just, I don't know what people were expecting from them. And that, to me, was pretty much it from the questionable category. You know, from if you wanted to question anything, which I'm not. I think Isaiah Stewart, his game posed the biggest questions. But even then, we know to wait a few more, games, like into the regular season, to make any type of judgment.
Yeah, and I'll say about the turnovers is that it wasn't, if it was limited to 1 or 2 people, you would say, fine, blow it off. I think this is a concern, a legit concern, because we saw this a lot last year where it was Corey making them, it was Killian making them, it was Cade making them, and just guys jumping in the air with no plan, or when you knew the Knicks were in the passing lane, like when they made the pass and the Knicks guy was already in the lane,
right?
The steal was already made before the pass was made because he was just there. So there were so many of those that was a bit concerning, is that they seemed either predictable or they just made fundamental errors on a lot of those turnovers. And those were just going the other way. And the Knicks are so athletic. that, you got Obi Toppin filling the lane. Okay, good luck with that. Whatever. Yeah. You're not going to do a lot with that.
Yep. Yeah, it's like, when I look at the turnovers here, Sean Murphy and Jeff, they brought up something really, really interesting here. Jaden Ivey, 0 turnovers on the game. 0 turnovers. As we get into some things that we liked, I really liked the way Jaden Ivey played. He looked composed, finished with 16 points, 2 assists, 4 rebounds, no turnovers. He grabbed the O rebound as well.
Miles McBride didn't get him. McBride was getting everybody last night, man.
Yeah,
like 3 steals in a minute, or 2-3 minutes. I'm like, guys, McBride's there. It's like Livers when he swung the ball at the top of the key. I don't know who he was passing it to, but he's just kind of like, I wouldn't say it was like a lazy pass, but he just kind of like slung it there. McBride gets it all the way.
Yep.
So those stuff. I mean, it is what it is.
But does Livers make that pass normally?
I mean, no. That's he'll learn from it.
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Those guys look like it was an extended practice. I believe we're going to see them a lot more crisp. If they just tighten up just their crispness, I don't think that there was much more that they could have done from an execution standpoint. I thought they ran their pick and rolls pretty good. I thought that Jalen Duren could show himself a little bit better, open up or create, or seal off more space.
Right.
But those are technique things that you can only learn when you get into the game. You put it on the film, and you can sit down and look at it. Other than that, like what are people hoping that this team realistically, showed beyond what they did?
And some of those turnovers too, it's like they were trying to make the right play. It didn't happen. So like one of the turnovers, I forget who it was. I think it was Jaden Ivey going to the basket. And he didn't turn the ball over, but it was actually on Stewart. But he tried getting it to Stu.
It was a good pass too.
It was a good pass. Stu grabbed. I think he threw it. He might have threw it to Bogdan or Bojan, and then Bojan tried getting it to Stu.
Bojan didn't lay it up. That's
Bojan,
right.
Yeah, Bojan should have laid it up.
He should have laid it in.
Bojan should have laid it up. But like stuff like that, it's like, okay, good. I like the idea. I like the play, but just didn't execute it. So, I mean, if you want to look at that and say, you know what, we're going to win 5 games this year, then you know what, go ahead.
And the thing about Bojan too that I liked. That dude's been here, a week?
Dude, he's just seamless.
You said 2 years, you said 3 years, it looked like?
That dude's been here like a week, and he didn't look like, okay, let me look at the bench and see where I'm supposed to be, and guys weren't pointing him in directions to say, you got to go there. He figured out what he was supposed to do, and I'm going to come out and hit a couple of threes. That's what I'm here for, is to help to stretch the floor out. So that's something just kind of under the radar maybe that I like, that he just almost seamlessly fit in, and you knew where he was supposed to be, and he was a threat. He wasn't just sitting in a corner somewhere. Right. He was a threat.
And I think that also speaks to that's what the Pistons need. Like Troy kind of mentioned that last year. You just need guys that are going to be in the right spots, that know their job, like a veteran specifically. You can't have, an entire team, your entire lineup of 18 to 23-year-olds. But Bojan is a perfect fit. Like he is. The trade for Olynyk, and I loved Olynyk, but Olynyk and Saban Lee for a guy who's going to fit seamlessly and help the shooting, which he did immediately in a preseason game.
Yep.
Like you can't complain, man. You need guys like that, especially with a young core, just always in the right spots, knows how to make the right play. Except he should have laid it up, but we'll let it slide. It's preseason.
But this is what, for the people who are going to be frustrated by it and complain about it. These are the people that are saying that they're going to make the playoffs, for the most part, probably.
Yeah, right.
And Brandon, you and I said this very specifically. Tell me 5 teams that they're better than, and we didn't say the Knicks. We said maybe they can get to the Knicks are on that line with the new pieces that they've got. But you're going to see a lot of games like this. If you think this is something that's indicative of anything else, there are going to be games where they just have a ton of turnovers. Cade's only going to have 7 points and 3 assists. And Sadiq 6 points and 3 rebounds. Come on, man, that's not going to happen very often. But these maddening turnover games, and where you felt like, okay, they were in it for the first bit of it, and then the turnovers just killed them. That's just going to happen sometimes.
Right.
It is, especially again, reiterate. This is a young team who's still trying to develop chemistry and integrate 2 new rookies. Bojan, who he kind of seamlessly fit all over, but it still takes an adjustment on where these players are going to be. What if they're used to a guy being just always in the corner, but now Bojan, surprise, he'll cut, he'll move, he'll this or that. Yeah. That makes a difference. I really liked what he brought to the court. It just, like Rod said, I don't think there's anything else we could you could even extrapolate. He just seemed to be a guy who knew how to play the right way.
Yeah, reliable.
Even defensively, I know people they talk about his defense. I didn't see somebody who was just overtly outmatched or anything of that nature. He knew where to be. Do you want someone who can be even more 3-and-D? Sure, I guess in a perfect world, but where's that money coming from? Where's that player at? I like what Bojan is. I like why Troy brought him in. I believe he's going to fit that purpose very, very well. I like the comfortability that Cade Cunningham had or has, like, looking for him. Like, the players look for him. I love the fact that he knows we have this outlet. And think about when that is just hitting. When these guys,
him and Bay. Yeah, him and Bay, man, post it up.
Yep. With Jaden Ivey, though, there was something that we questioned, and I wanted to be able to get into it because I thought he kind of, in his first preseason game, he acquitted himself nicely. I think he was asked, you know, we talk about, like you always say, what are they asked to do? And he said, I wasn't really asked to play make in college. Last night, I saw some playmaking. Guys didn't necessarily finish some of his passes, but Jaden Ivey did finish with a couple assists. And if we would have had 3 if Bojan would have just laid it up. next time, Bojan. But no, he had another good pass, I believe, to, I want to say, Isaiah Stewart, one where it ended in the foul. Couple nice plays, man, where it either ended in the foul, ended in points, or
did you see the points where, like, the Knicks would make a basket and they go to inbound and you see Cade and Jaden both ask go,
yeah,
and you could tell Cade looks at Jaden like, oh yeah, you can take it.
Yeah,
like I forget, like, I'm not used to having this guy here, but I like it.
That because, I mean, when these coaches say things like, hey, these players are going to be interchangeable, we don't really look at them as a one. Cade can play the 1 through the 3, Ivey can play small ball 3 and these things. Then all of a sudden, I was sitting there like, I wonder if anyone's picking up on the fact that Ivey just got the inbound pass, brought it down, and initiated the offense.
Yeah, right.
It's like,
and
that's awesome.
And like Rod always says, listen, because they told you that. They told us that was going to be how it works. Jaden and Cade are going to both be initiating the offense. So, see, this is why Rod, not only is he therapeutic, but he drops knowledge that comes from the Pistons organization. And people need to listen, because when you listen, a lot of problems get solved. I'm learning that.
Because what are they trying to do? They said they wanted to get Cade's usage percentage down, because he was wearing down from having to initiate so much in the offense. That's why they ran him.
Keep that man healthy, please.
That's why they ran him with Corey Joseph. That's why they ran him with Killian a lot, is because he was initiating too much. So you get him a guard that can bring it down, that can do some other. I mean, there were times when Sadiq brings the ball down, or Livers brings the ball down. They don't want Cade to have to bring it down all of the time. He'll come to the top after the ball's in the half court and do that. But yes, that's an excellent observation on that, is that it is not just going to be all Cade all the time. They're going to try to preserve him a little bit.
Yep. And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because you're right. When you have Sadiq Bey and Jaden Ivey handling the ball more, you know what you're going to get in the first game, where that's not usually what they do. You're going to get Cade and Sadiq looking exactly how they look. Sadiq was handling the rock more. He was facilitating more. I want to see more pick and roll opportunities with Sadiq Bey as a ball handler. But then you also have Cade Cunningham playing more off ball,
which he's really good at.
He's really good at, but scoring wise, he's a better scorer, I've noticed, when he has the ball in his hands.
Right.
When he's starting with the ball first. So getting used to being an off ball scorer, on a regular basis with guys like Ivey. Yeah, I can understand how in a first preseason game where the Knicks are actually like, yo, bro, it's a rec game. Why are you playing so hard?
Yeah.
Like the Pistons came away with like fingernail marks all over them and such, couple, elbows and such. Yep. Like Tibbs was sitting there on the sideline mad. I felt like Casey was just like, bro, chill.
Yeah,
can my rookies get some reps?
Yeah. I watched Killian try. He tried to make a pass and it went out of bounds. And you see Dwayne just like encouraging it, like he likes that he tried to make a play.
But Tibbs all night was like
but see, it's a pressure cooker in New York, and getting Brunson in is so much more pressure on them that they have to produce. There's for them. They cannot be on the fringes. They can't be the number 11 or number 12 team. They almost have a playoff mandate, you would think, with this roster that they have now. And if they went out to the extent that they did to get Brunson and to pay Brunson,
He was solid too.
Yeah, he was really good. But that's why I think Tibbs has to be on 10 to start the preseason
right now.
And Casey's kind of like, come on, bro. It's my rooks are out here. And, whatever.
Hey, what up, Fish? Super Fish. They're giving them the call.
I gotta head out, but Rod, I appreciate you because I feel like my blood pressure is now at a good rate right now. Last night we were stressed out, not stressed out, but like confused. But now we got our answers, so I appreciate you.
No, just grain of salt, man. That's that, Jeff. You know how this goes. See, I got a whole segment here for you. Everything with a grain of salt.
I love it. All right, Brody. All right. Yes, sir. Rod, another thing I wanted to point out here with Jaden Ivey, because there was a lot of different things that we talked about in draft coverage, especially when the Pistons finally selected him, and we were even more adamant with some of the strengths that we talked about, his speed, his athleticism, and how that would play into the NBA. I was under the impression that I really believed that NBA spacing was going to be awesome for Jaden Ivey, and Jeff further was like, what does he has to do? He wasn't really asked to do some of these things that we're hoping he can do in the NBA when he was in college, as well as the spacing in the middle. It just wasn't there. At the open practice, I saw him do exactly what I was hoping he can do. Off of pick and rolls or off of a crossover. He's so fast, Rod, that he can split a defense or get around the defender very quickly. That one dribble, he throws it out there, and he's just already at the rim. And I saw that last night several times, that lightning quick, like can split the defense or come off the pick and roll, and he's already to the rim. He had one layup that just looked so easy. And on that layup, I remember remarking, and I thought I was the only one. Again, I'm so glad that some of these fans are really clued in. He looked big. He didn't look like a little guard. Sometimes when people say John Morant, he looks more guard-like to me, not necessarily combo guard, like what Dwayne Wade kind of looked like. And on that play, he just went in, and whoever was defending him looked very small. It just getting up into the high for the layup. He came around for it. His body frame was strong, and he just kind of kissed it in off the glass. It was just like, man, I like what this guy is already showing. I wasn't expecting necessarily 16-4, and I know it's a preseason game, but I really wasn't expecting that. He was playing against some people who try to take, perimeter defense somewhat serious. What did you like about his speed? What did you see that you believe is going to definitely continue to mature and help the Pistons as the season goes on?
Yeah, I liked a couple of things. I like that he the three that he took was a lot of confidence. He stepped right into that, and you want to see a few more attempts a game, but then again, given every attempt he takes is one that Sadiq or Cade or Boyan isn't taking. So he knows his role in that. It wasn't get happy with it and just take a bunch of them. The breakaway steal and dunk that he had, just get in the lane, cause some havoc. And we said this when Killian and Cade were the backcourt, is that they're going to hound some people and just create some turnovers. And I think he can do a bit more of that too. But just his ability to not be sped up. And that was the biggest issue, is that people said he's maybe sped up in the preseason, sped up in summer league. Can he slow down and be at the same speed as the game is? And this was a good indicator of that. Again, it's one game, so I'm not going to overreact to the positive the same way that I'm going to poo-poo the negative stuff in a preseason game. But it's a good thing that he was able to show that the game wasn't going to be too fast. Remember in summer league in that first game that he was almost running out of his shoes trying to get to stuff. Yeah. I'd rather him do that in summer league and look like he did in the preseason game than the reverse of those two.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that was something that I stated as well before the game. A lot of people thought I was kind of lowering or diminishing the expectations for Jaden Ivey in this first game when I stated the number one thing I'm looking for out of Jaden Ivey. I don't care if he scores 2 points or 15 points in this game. I don't care if he goes 0 for 6, trying to dunk on people or taking good shots. What I was hoping to see out of Jaden Ivey was that. Is he going to overrun his speed, or can he play composed? Is his speed going to be an advantage, or is it going to be something that gets him in trouble? Like, I was looking for those jump passes that he does in the middle. I was looking for those, dribble into traffic, into the middle of the paint, and then just kind of look for something. I didn't see that. I saw composure, and I didn't see a guy who was thinking. At the open practice, I saw in the beginning a guy who he was thinking a little bit too much. This game, I didn't see that right from the get-go. It looked like, okay, let me play my role. But as soon as they kind of put the ball in his hands, it was just, he's just like, hey, I'm here to play ball. And that was my biggest takeaway. He didn't, like you say, he didn't overrun his own speed. He used it to his advantage, and he looked like an NBA basketball player. Those are my biggest takeaways from Jaden Ivey.
Last night. That's just the really good thing of it all is that he looked like he belonged, and even Duren looked like he belonged and belonged in the middle. And it wasn't this kind of big man. It wasn't like a Rudy Gobert who's just sort of there and he's very mechanical. There's going to be some more work offensively for certain. But in terms of the rebounding and the strength, which were his two biggest assets coming in, is that, that dude can rebound. That dude's going to alter some shots. And so those, you wanted to see if that could translate and if he could compete against a big man, and he did that.
I mean, look, if you want to see if your rookie big man, your lottery big man is going to be NBA ready, because that was a question, or at least something that people pondered. Is he going to be in the G League to start when it was during the draft and when he first got drafted? And it's almost as if the Pistons, they didn't say he's never going to be in the G League, but almost quickly they let us know what the expectation is for him. We believe Jalen Duren is going to be a great player, and they're going to work with him to get him to that point. I wanted to see last night, like you stated, how does he deal or handle NBA physicality, NBA speed, NBA athleticism? My play of the game, I wrote this down in my notes. My play of the game for Jalen Duren is a play that didn't even that went against him, I guess. It was that goaltend, which I still don't think was a goaltend. I think it was Emmanuel quickly on the fast break. He stole it from somebody.
And he chased down.
And it was a chase down. I don't know where it came from. Like, I'm happy that I think it was Isaiah Livers who chased after it rather than just give up. That's Isaiah Livers. I love that about him. But Jalen Duren came out of nowhere so fast and leaped. I looked at where he leapt from, and I was like, maybe he's just making a wry attempt. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to get there and just kind of, bro, he got the ball. I'm still, like, I went back and I looked at him like, was that a goaltend? Like, I thought he took it to the backboard. But, man, that is a player that excites me. And that was a play of the game for me. I was just like, oh, my word. Oh, my word. Because the other things we saw, the rebounding as a stat, I was talking with some people. I haven't even put this out there. I was talking with some friends, and I said, you know what? I really think Jalen Duren can have a better first year than Andre Drummond did. I really do. From the rebounding and his natural gifts and such, I wanted to see how he handled physicality. And if he gets the time, obviously, you got to get through the preseason. You got to show that you can handle when teams are cluing in on you. But I told people, I believe his natural skill set, just his natural gifts, his natural talents of athleticism, speed, and he's a smart basketball player. He's talking. He tries hard, bro. He tries very, very hard. Those types of players, when they show they have a little touch around the rim, those are guys that are walking 10 rebounds every single night. So it's encouraging to see him go out there and get 14, because when I saw 5 rebounds in the first 3 minutes, and the broadcast crew was, the TNT crew was talking about it, I was like, yo, look at this more. Because at first, I don't know why I missed the 5 rebounds so quickly. When they stated that, I kind of rewound it, went back and looked at it. And I was like, yo, this guy's all over the place. They can't keep him off the rebounds, off the back glass. So Jalen Duren, he really, really actually kind of surprised me in that game. I'm still, like I said, with preseason, trying to take it with a grain of salt. But what he did are things that I believe are going to translate to the NBA regular season as well. What do we make of Jalen Duren's 14 rebounds and how he at least handled the physicality of the New York Knicks bigs?
I think that was one of my big takeaways from Summer League on Duren, was that he was just a rebound magnet. He's going to be around a lot of that stuff. And it's such a hard position to learn for a rook, and especially an 18-year-old rook, is that you're going to get duped by a lot of guys. You're going to have to stop from fouling, avoid fouling your drivers like your John Morants or your LeBrons or your guys that get in the paint. You're going to have to avoid fouling there. But you can't have unreasonable expectations for him starting out to say that, yeah, you're encouraged by something. Now let's throw him in the starting lineup. You have to just bring him along very slowly, very, very slowly. And I'm glad you made the Drummond comparison. I was going to make it a little bit earlier that he's going to, if he fits in your offense the way that Drummond did, where he's going to be a rebounder and he doesn't need the ball. He's just going to kind of be there, get the boards and on defensive rebounds, and let's go the other way and fill the lane. Then he's doing, that's what you kind of drafted him for.
That's what I was getting at.
They see so much more, but it's in stages. Let's take this in baby steps of do these things, look good in the first part of the season, and then we'll see what we can add on as we go.
Yeah. At his base level, it's awesome to see. And I believe that he has a little bit more basketball instinct offensively as a big man and defensive instinct. I know when Andre Drummond was coming into the league, he was considered a project player, which I believe is a little bit different than what Jalen Duren is. I believe Jalen Duren has a base skill set that is discernible. You could see it right away, but he can be developed into even more. Whereas Andre Drummond, there was a lot of people at the time who didn't know what type of big man he was, what he was going to really be. And I remember, at the time, Joe Dumars being aptly happy about the pick, somebody that we can get in here and he can do multiple things. And instantly we saw Drummond being able to defend on the perimeter, rebound machine. He was just a magnet for rebounds, lob threats. And the thing that got him in trouble, or at least the thing that got him within fan ire, was the fact that he didn't stay within what they believed to be his base set of skills, the things that he was the greatest at. Jalen Duren looked like a player who, not that he's going to ever shy away from offense, but it didn't look like he was a guy who was going out there trying to play above or outside of the game plan or his base skill sets, which is awesome. Like the things that we were hoping Drummond could grasp before he left here, and Drummond has stated in other interviews he wished he would have grasped this. He stated his time in Detroit was a wake-up call. It was his best time in NBA, blessed time in his life, and he's grateful for Detroit and always will be. He said there's things he's learned now that he wished he knew then. I feel like Jalen Duren has some of that stuff now. And with the development staff he has versus what Andre Drummond had, the sky's the limit. All the things that these people, they already had a plan for him. Whereas Andre Drummond, there wasn't even really a plan coming into the NBA, coming to the Pistons. I remember that. So with Jalen Duren, with those 14 rebounds, man, obviously I want to see him more in the pick and roll game, more as a lob threat, but it looked like the Knicks were forcing us to just shoot. They were kind of packing in the middle. They were sagging like, no, this guy will dunk on our heads. A couple times he did put his hand up to try and get the lob, but it just wouldn't have been a smart pass. So I'm glad that the players didn't try to force that in there. But Jalen Duren, he showed a lot to like as it related to that physicality. And I'm hoping that he and the Pistons, whether they're looking at it directly or not, I'm hoping that they learn from that Andre Drummond situation.
Yeah, it's Troy Weaver running the show now, so I think we'll see that handled.
We got nothing
That'll
to worry
be handled a little bit differently, and there's already a plan in place that even if he does play a little bit in the G League this year, that he'll benefit from that as well.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I feel like when these players go down to the G League, it allows them to be able to develop new skill sets or add on to what they're already working. When they're at the NBA level, there's a game plan in place. There's a set game plan, and you can't have everybody working on something. So if Sadiq Bey is going to become more of a ball handler and Cade Cunningham is going to be more off ball, you can't also have, Jalen Duren working on how to be Sean Kemp. You're going to need him to be able to rebound, block shots, and things like that. But when they go down to the G League, I've noticed these players probably in practice and in the games are allowed and able to do a little bit more. I saw that with Luka Garza. We saw that with Saban Lee. We saw that with Jamarcus Pickett. their G League stints, they showed a little bit more skill set, a little bit more range, a little bit more depth. And I actually kind of, if he goes down there, spends any time, I look forward to seeing what he does down there.
Yeah.
That confidence and in bringing it back to the Pistons and not missing a beat. DJ Baker did a phenomenal job last year. And with the Motor City Crews and the Pistons players that were there, they didn't skip a beat when they came up. So that's not something to fear. This is not like some other organizations. You said it right. Troy Weaver's at the helm of this thing.
Yep.
Dwayne Casey and his development staff, John Beeline. It's like, I think people underestimate when you hear these names. These aren't just like, oh, let's just kind of bring him here in the same vein that they brought like Chris Webber here. Like, oh, older coach. Let's just, hey, bring him in. John Beeline is a heck of a coach, people. And if you want to talk about player development, he was a college coach, sending players to the NBA who never had the arc before. He was sending guys to the NBA, Rod, who were not tracked to go to the NBA.
I was there. I saw it.
What am I talking about? Of course.
I saw where Trey Burke was.
Ohio State saw where he was and said, nah.
And he has built a career, a lasting NBA career. Tim Hardaway wasn't Tim Hardaway. Tim Hardaway was like a 3-star who did not have big offers. Karis LeVert was forgotten, not even forgotten about. People just didn't know. Karis is a bucket, a straight bucket,
absolute bucket.
And not even Duncan Robinson and the Duncan Robinson story is insane.
From D3 to the NBA.
Whatever, man. From a D3 kid just to play at a D1 school is the story. You could cut it right there, and that's something. To have that dude go and to get, what was the deal was like 60 mil. And to be on a Heat team, I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
So it's an eye for talent and really just what to do with it. And you can argue and say it's mostly guards and wings that Beeline has had that success with. But I mean, whatever.
Yeah,
whatever. The man knows how to work with talent.
Yeah, and where the greatest sign of a leader to me is they know what they know how to do well, and they surround themselves with other people who know how to do something well. So it's not going to be just if Casey's perfect. Casey might say, hey, I have some blind spots. Hey, how you doing, John Beeline? That will reduce the blind spots for your organization, and that's what you want. This organization is stacked with rich basketball eyes, rich basketball minds, rich basketball IQ. Like, I seriously implore you all, look at who's on this in this front office. Look at who's on the coaching staff. You have other players coming here saying, yo, whatever they're doing in their health, their strength and conditioning, they are top notch. Now, I remember some years back, about 7-8 years ago, when players were getting hurt and injured and such, and they had let go of some of the mainstays. There was a little bit of people saying, hey, I don't know what's going on there, and I know we had hired somebody who's no longer here. That some people were like, yeah, he this followed him from Philly or whatever.
Yeah.
But now you have players actively talking about this organization from the top down. You had Cade Cunningham coming into the Pistons talking about the report that he had gotten from many stars across the league about Dwayne Casey and his development staff. Guys, and when you look at how these rookies started preseason game number 1, what can you say? When you look at how second-round pick Isaiah Livers, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 from free throw, 3 of 7 3-point. Because everybody's all he did was shot threes. I said, how you get 4 free throws then? You know what I mean? The defense, Rob, I saw a play because Isaiah Livers, we got a couple more players I wanted to talk about. Isaiah Livers, Marvin Bagley, and Killian Hayes, man. Listen, there was a play where Isaiah Livers guarded 3 players. All right. He listen, and got the block. And got the block. He was guarding a bigger a wing player, like a 4. They did a pick and roll. He was guarding the guard. Then the guard went and called another pick and roll, and then he's back on a big man who then goes back out because he didn't get the ball on the roll, goes back out to the key, gets the ball, tries to come in, and Isaiah Livers is just block. I was just like, man, this dude is good. His defense.
Who recruited him?
It's a preseason game.
Who recruited him?
Oh, John B.
Oh, I mean, but okay. No, but Livers is very much that, and he showed that last year in some stretches, but also in summer league. That so the other thing is how much of this stuff that you look at from summer league can you carry over into preseason games and then into the real season? And that was the thing about Livers. Mm-hmm. Livers was one of the people to watch in summer league. Does that translate over to the regular season? Was that 19 games last year a fluke? And can he build on that and be even better? Defensively, you can see by that play that he can be. And those are the little things that are going to get you a stop, that are going to get you a win, that help you down the stretch in some of these games. So Livers, you can't look at the stat line only as an indicator of how well he played, because he's going to help you defensively. If you do look at the stat line,
2 blocks for him last night.
13 and 4. I mean, second leading scorer on the team, and he's not your scorer.
Second most made free throws as well.
Check it. Let's go.
Yep. Off the bench, second round pick.
Check it.
Bro,
and people
brought in John Beeline at the right time. Man,
and people passed on him. People just passed like, okay, that injury is not going to be something that we want to mess around with. And Troy Weaver's like, okay, cool. All right, I got that.
Shout out to that Pistons strength and conditioning team. Shout out to their medical staff.
Let's put that in the knapsack, and we'll come back and when he's better, he'll be better. So it's just the patience of that front office too. I mean, I could go on about this all day. Give me somebody else. You said Livers.
We'll go Bagley, and we'll close with Killian Hayes, because Killian made me proud last night. It's like you said, the things that you want to continue to see translating. He talked about aggressiveness and confidence. But Marvin Bagley, just quickly, 6 points, 7 rebounds, 3 of 5 shooting. I thought he looked nimble. I thought he looked quick. I thought he looked light. I wasn't too there are things that I guess some people said they wanted to see more of, see him block, see him be active in the passing lanes and such. I'm just like, man, how zoomed in are people to this game? I thought Marvin Bagley acquitted himself pretty decently, man.
I do too. The thing that I don't want to see from him as much, I don't want to see him on the 3-point line. Put that man down in the post and let Livers shoot those threes. Mm-hmm. I would even say let Killian shoot some of those threes. He only shot 2 and he missed them both. That's about the number that I would want him to shoot. I don't want these games where he's shooting 4, 5, 6, unless he's just doing heat checks and he's in the zone that way. 2 is about the right number. Give me more with Livers shooting 7. I'll even with Kojo last year shooting 40% from 3. Give me, if he wants to shoot 4, cool. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Bagley is what I thought, and didn't regress at all, and he looked like he was under control when he was in the game. 3 of 5. That's about that. Maybe under control. Maybe shoot a little bit more, give him a few more looks at the basket. But I mean, it was only 20 minutes, so I'm not going to harp on anything and say that it was bad or anything else. He was just solid, and I like solid from Bagley.
Solid. Free throws, obviously, that's going to be a concern as a big man. He missed 2 last night. Hopefully, he continues to work on that and improve that as we're just going through things, because those are the more translatable things. Those are things we know about him that transcend preseason. But he's not a bad free throw shooter. He needs to get that up into the 70s, though. I like the 7 rebounds. There's something I noticed at the open practice that showed up right away in this game as well. We remarked that when he first got traded to the Pistons, he looked like a guy who didn't have his basketball instinct there because he wasn't really playing, and he looked a little bit out of basketball shape. Not that he was out of shape, but that he was out of basketball shape, which is a little bit different thing. Mm-hmm. Notice him, sweating before everybody else, huffing and puffing before everybody else, and stamina, going lower before everybody else. But at the open practice, I put it out there. I was like, man, he looks thin. He looks like he slimmed down, and everybody was like, yo, yeah, he looks really slim. And in the open practice, he looks springy, just all over the place. Just even the way he just takes off running, he's just down the court. He looks good, man. And I noticed that on those rebounds, he's getting up and he's snatching them. It's not like he's even just, oh, let me tip. Like last year, I noticed there were some plays where he had to kind of tip to himself or get into the fray. This year, it was almost like he was getting rebounds, and it appeared on some of these rebounds, he was just by himself, just clearing it. But he's one of those guys that when you get in shape and you have the measurables, when you just jump and you do things and you're putting your arms out, you see guys flailing off of you or second guessing or thinking before they say, I'm going in there to rebound with him. That was something that I believe Andre Drummond did very well. And I started to see that a little bit out of Marvin Bagley. 7 rebounds in the 20 minutes was impressive to me. It just was. Yeah, like I said, you don't read much into it because it's preseason, but it's what you want to see.
Yep.
Now, Killian Hayes. Listen, I'm aggressive. I am confident. He kept using that answer for media day. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to say it's overplayed until he goes out there and shows that it's just words versus action. And Killian showed in the open practice, and you got to take that with a grain of salt, but he showed, look, guys, I've been working. I am confident. I am aggressive. I'm here to play ball. I'm here to lead my team. I'm here to play make. I'm here to play defense. Last night, he looked like he was serious, man. He looked serious. I love the aggressiveness that I saw from Killian Hayes. If you're going to criticize him for Summer League, if you're going to criticize him for not having, the ability to have full off seasons, you got to be able to look at when he's making certain strides, even though it's just preseason, and say, you know what? I like the direction that he's headed in. Killian Hayes last night, 11 points, 5 assists. He had a couple turnovers. One of them was not his fault, and I believe the other might have been an offensive foul. I don't quite remember, but I remember for most of the game, he only had 1 turnover. Between he and Ivey, I thought that was awesome that they had combined for 1 or 2 turnovers as ball handlers. 5 of 12 shooting, 1 of 3 from 3, 0 of 2 from free throw. He's gonna make his free throws. 5 assists, 1 rebound. Killian Hayes, to me, man. What did you think of his game last night?
Who had the most field goal attempts last night?
Let's see it. Oh, Cade and Killian.
That's I'm good. I'm good right there. The man
that boy shot it. That's what we were talking about. Shoot it.
The man had 12 field goal attempts. He had 11 points. It's not the ratio that you want, but if you tell him to go out there and be more aggressive and he does it, now he's starting to listen. And I can rock with that.
Bro, you got that total recall memory. I remember that. We were saying Killian just needs to shoot it more. Like, bro, shoot the ball. Don't be afraid to shoot. Like, you're a baller. We see you get mad, you go out there and shoot. I don't like Rod. Is there any inside information or scoop on what chip they put on his shoulder? He just looks like, huh?
I think they just told him, just go and shoot the damn ball. Just go out. It doesn't matter. If you're strong enough, and he's 6'6", you're strong enough to go in there and finish, then do it. And people have talked about that he can't drive right, he only drives left. Okay, well, drive left and drive left strong and try to finish strong and do that. And we saw all of the clips from his workouts in the summer. If he's doing all this stuff, do it in a game. And it's a preseason game. It's against the Knicks, but you showed me that you can do it. It's an instruction. You tell your kids to go and do certain things, and it's like, just do what I told you to do. What about this? Just do what I told you to do. And he went out and did that. And it's 12 shot attempts. It's 5 makes, which is outside of Ivy 6. That's the most field goals out of anybody. You went to the rack. You tried to make some shots. You were aggressive. And given the squad that he was rocking with, rolling with Livers, Joseph, Bagley, Duren, given that you're rolling with them, yeah, you should be a guy who handles the ball a little bit more and be a setup guy. Yeah, you got lob options, but the fact that you can go in there and try to get to the rack yourself with those lob options just tells me that you understood the assignment and you went and did it.
Yep, and one of those threes that he shot popped out. They rimmed out last time. I remember that. I like I said, he acquitted himself very, very well as it relates to the things you want to see out of Killian Hayes, because obviously if he didn't look like that last night, you want to talk about, a certain topic being on fire. It would have definitely been Killian Hayes, man. His name would have been burning in the streets right now. It seemed like every play that he had, you look at social media light up, And it's almost as if fans are like, yeah, he better have made that. It's like, can y'all just support the guy? Like, come on, man.
Here's the thing with Killian too, is that his things are momentum. It's a snowball effect with him. When he's had good stretches, it's not just he's played poorly and then here's one 15-point game. His sort of build up is that it's the played well in the open practice, played well in the opening preseason game. Now, can he continue this for multiple games throughout the preseason and carry this into the regular season? He hasn't had good starts to seasons at all. So if he can start the season in a solid way, it could really bode well for how he is at the middle of the season, because he's got a nice, good bit of wind under his wings to help him to get started. That's huge for him.
You're right. And he doesn't have to get adjusted to NBA, athleticism or speed or anything of that nature.
No, he's already there.
It's there. It's there. It's just being comfortable. And sometimes, I remember my coach, we used to have a big man on our high school team, and he grew like 6, 7, 8 inches in height between, I forget, like junior year or sophomore and junior year or something like that. And the coach had to keep telling him, like, bro, do you know that you're a big man? Because it just mentality he didn't know. And then when people tell him, your arms are longer than everybody else's, you're jumping higher, you're taller, people are they're looking at you a little bit different. Understand that and play with that from ahead. I believe that Killian, he looked like that. He looked like he knows now that he's 6'5", 6'6", that he knows he is a fast basketball player. Killian's fast with the ball. He might not be just a straight up speedster like Ivey, but there's something to say about a player who can put the ball on the string and dribble all over the court. People can't really stay in front of him. That's how he was getting open off those pick and rolls, to be able to have those mid-range looks and be able to get into the lane. That's a skill set. That is a key skill set. And I'm starting to believe that that's something Troy Weaver and co picked up on. Casey's been saying since his rookie year, Killian is a guy who, I have some things that I tell people never do, but he's a guy who continues to prove to me that he can do them. I don't like one-handed passes, but Killian can make the one-handed pass. I don't like people dribbling like this, but Killian's proven he can do this. I don't like guys doing it. But so there's some certain things that they identified about Killian and that he has that I believe are going to prove to be some pretty elite skill sets, especially in the playmaking. With the increase in talent, the increase in shooting, and we'll end with this. That's what I believe is going to help Cade Cunningham, Saddiq Bey, Jaden Ivey, and Killian Hayes the most, as they are starting to increase their playmaking and their ball handling duties. We got, Killian, we have Saddiq, who's going to be doing a little bit more, and we saw that. This can only help. It can only help. Like, I saw Killian passing to reputable shooters last night.
It's going to be that. And the other thing that I liked is that they had Killian with Corey. So Killian is almost an off guard if you want him to be. And I think Corey's first three, he looked like the off guard was just something on the wing, catch and shoot and go. So you can, the same thing we talked about with Cade and Killian together, now you can do with Corey and Killian the same sort of way. But if you make Cade, or if you make Killian a shooter, then he gets the reps to get those 12 shots up. You want to see something like that. So I think there were some positive takeaways, and Killian was the top of my list that I wanted to see how he came out and played in the preseason.
Yep. I think that about does it for this one, man. Look, people, put in the comments, what are your takeaways from last night's game between the Detroit Pistons and the New York Knicks? What are your criticisms? What do you hope to see in the next game? What did you like? What did you like about our rookies? I thought Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren, they played very well. I thought Killian Hayes has continued to show improvement and show that he is working on and towards this new aspect of aggressiveness and confidence. October 7th is the next game against the New Orleans Pelicans. That's this Friday at 8 p.m. It's going to be a tall order for these guys, as it relates to the style of play. It's not like this is another up-and-coming team. It's a team that is established. So, hey, guys, expect some growing pains. Expect some learning mistakes and whatnot with this team as they continue to go throughout the preseason. But I do believe that ultimately, Rod, we're going to see this team compete, and make it tough every single night when we get into the swing of things. The 3-point shooting. That's one of the biggest reasons why I believe that this team overall, whether we think that Stu or Bags or any of these guys, even the big men or even like Killian can hit at the clips that we hope they can, I do believe they're all serviceable. I do believe if someone sees Stu at the 3-point line, they're not just going to say, oh, just let him shoot it. I believe that when defenses come in and they have to game plan and scheme, they're going to have to be a little bit more honest than they were before. Cade Cunningham is not getting double teamed at the rate that he was last year. That is not happening, especially when you have Bojan sitting in the corner, when you have Jaden Ivey, who, whether he's shooting a 3 or not, him getting the ball at the 3-point line is either a layup in a blink of an eye or a 3-point attempt. You know, that excited me. They were about 45% in the first quarter. I think 42% 3-point shooting in the first half. It tailed off as big men and players and such just kind of started shooting. But the 3-pointer was key to runs both in the first quarter and when they started closing the gap. Shout out to Rodney Mack, as Mason so affectionately calls him. He's been just, bro, he's one of those guys that just plays hard all the time. Like, he was at the open practice like buckets. He went out last night like buckets.
There was a stretch last year where Magruder, it felt like he made the first shot of the game, his first shot of the game, for 10 straight games. Every time he came in, first shot, good money. That's Rodney. Rodney is one of my favorite players on this team. He's just, he comes out and plays. He doesn't care about his role. You can sit him for 5 straight games and bring him in on the 6th game, and he's going to hit that first shot. He's always ready. Already ready.
And I love this comments at Media Day where he said, you know what? I've been in a situation like this before in Miami. And these guys do have what it takes, but I'm gonna continue to be on them. I like that he referenced that, you know, because he said, I know, you know, they asked, I forget who asked, but you know, hey, we haven't talked to you since you came back. You know, why did you choose to come back? And he said, I love Detroit. I like it here. I like what they're doing. I like where they're headed. This is a great opportunity to be in. And it's cool to see and hear, because he also stated he really wants to be involved in a part of making sure that these young stars can get there.
Yep. He's a team guy.
Yep. Ah, man. Look, hopefully the people have found some type of sensibility in the things that we've discussed today. It's preseason, folks. It's preseason. Think about how happy you guys were when the Pistons went on that stretch of games where they looked really, really tough after an All-Star game. You know what I mean? Like, how silly did it, all of the takes about Cade Cunningham in the first 5 games of the season, how silly are those takes? How silly are those takes about Sadiq Bey? Oh, Sadiq Bey fell off. Oh, we should have kept this player, that player. Then all of a sudden he's popping off for 40 and 50 points. Guys, relax.
Chill.
Look, man, we're going to close this thing out. My name is Detroit Kool-Aid. Watch the Morning Woodward Show every morning with your boy, Jeff Iafrate, Mr. Everything. He had to run out. And I'm going to get this drum roll going. For the legend, Detroit News Rod Beard. Bro, thank you for being on the show today, man. Your takes, your expertise on these matters, man, it's always leveling and balanced.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Hey, till next time, you all.